Let us continue with the lectures on engineering thermodynamics. Now, in the present session, we will consider the topic, the first law of thermodynamics. At the end of this class or session, you will be able to state first law as applied to a closed system executing a cycle. You should be able to state first law as applied to a closed system executing a process. Then explain the concept of energy and different forms of energy. Define specific heat at constant pressure Cp, specific heat at constant volume C suffix V. Also define internal energy, flow work and enthalpy. So as I mentioned in thermodynamics, many of the things we conclude based on experiments and observations. So there is no mathematical proof as such. So the first law of thermodynamics is a law based on experiences and experiments, carries no mathematical proof. It is in fact synonymous to the law of conservation of energy. That is, mass can neither be created nor, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, conservation of energy. With additional statement that internal energy is a property. Through first law, it is not through, it is though. First law deals primarily with energy associated with work and heat only, yet it is a modern trend to include it in other forms of energies also. Therefore, this law envelops all the fields of science wherever there is energy conversion. That's why we call it as thermodynamics is the science of energy. Now here in this session, let us deal with first law applied to a closed system undergoing a cycle or executing a cycle. First law for a closed system executing a process. It has been explained earlier. A closed system means heat interaction, work interaction may be there, but no mass will be entering into the system nor mass will be leaving the system. So such a closed system. Also, I have explained the meaning of a thermodynamic cycle where the initial or final, or we call them as end states, are identical. So first let us consider this, then we will talk about a closed system undergoing a thermodynamic process or executing a thermodynamic process. So first law applied to a closed system executing a cycle. This is the famous Joule's experiment. This is an adiabatic vessel. Meaning of adiabatic is that it is highly insulated. No heat will get into the system nor heat gets out of the system. The system, there is a fluid inside. This is a stirrer. So now, initially the weight will be in this position. I allow the weight to move down. As I explained earlier, this is what you can call it as stirring work. Work is done by the surroundings on the system. So you can always measure what is the amount of work done. Let us say the initial state of the system, I know two properties, let us say property X and property Y. This property X, property Y. If I can measure the property X, property Y, Let us say it can be volume and temperature. One is volume, another one is maybe temperature. So just two properties, two thermodynamic properties I know. I call property 1 as X, another property I call it as Y. I know this property, so I mark the initial state 1. So allow the weight to fall down. The stirrer will stir this fluid. Definitely the property changes because of the stirring work done. And that means this system has undergone a change of state. So let us say the new state is 2. I'll mark this. And say it has followed this path. So state 1 to state 2 following this path. This system has executed a process. During this process, work is done on the system. That is, you can measure the work. You know the weight, you know the distance traveled, the amount of work that is done, you can find out. So now what has happened, because of the stirring, definitely the temperature of the system must have changed. If I know the mass, if I know the specific heat, if I know the increase in temperature, what is the amount of heat that has been given to this, we can find out. What is the amount of heat that has been generated, you can find out. So another way of saying this, take this system, remove this adiabatic wall, dip this in water, allow the system to come back to its initial state, and found out how much heat has to cross from here to the cooling fluid so that it has to come back to its initial state. That you measure, that you call it as Q. So by removing the heat Q, again the system executes another process and it comes from state 2 to state 1. So initial and final, or you can say end states, are identical. The system has executed a cycle. During this cycle, during 1 to 2, work has been done on the system. During the process 2 to 1, heat has been rejected by the system. Joule has measured the values of W and Q. When you measure them in the same units, they are found to be the same. The values are found to be the same. He conducted a number of experiments and he found during a cycle the total work done on the system and the heat rejected by the system found to be equal. So that is what we call it as a famous Joule's experiment. So now assume that a number of small work interactions between the system and the surroundings. Let me represent them by W1, W2, W3, W4, W5, W. Some are positive, some are negative. Similarly, a series of heat interaction must have taken place. Let me represent by Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Some are positive, some are negative. Right? So now let us add up all the works W1, W2, W3, W4, W5, W6 and all that. Similarly, Q1, Q2, Q3 and all that. If both are the same units, if you compare, all the work interactions will be equal to all the heat interactions. So based on these experiments and observations, we can say that W is equal to Q if both are in the same units. In MKS system of units, we used to express work and Q in different units. To bring in their equivalence, Q is multiplied by J. J is known as mechanical equivalent of heat. So we write it as W is equal to Jk. In SI system, the value of J is equal to 1. So If there is only one work interaction, only one heat interaction, then I can write W is equal to Q. If there are series of such interactions, if I add them up, that's why I'll write sigma W for the whole cycle is equal to J sigma Q for the whole cycle. Imagine there are infinite number of such interactions. Instead of sigma symbol, I can use cyclic integral symbol. So cyclic integral of work is equal to cyclic integral of heat. The symbol is known as, this is an integral, this is a cycle, that's why we call it as cyclic integral. So this is the, you can say, statement of first law of thermodynamics as applied to a closed system executing a cycle. So we can state like this. The first law of thermodynamics states that during any cycle a closed system undergoes, the cyclic integral of work is equal to the cyclic integral of heat. So in SI system, as I mentioned earlier, the unit of work is Newton meter. Newton meter is nothing but joule. Unit of heat is joule. So if it in MKS system, normally Q is expressed in kcal. To convert into work units, we multiply that with 427. So J value is 427 kg force meter per kilogram. 1 kcal is equal to 4.17 kilojoules. So in other words, you can say first law, heat can be converted into work, work can be converted to heat. Cyclic integral of work is equal to cyclic integral of heat. For a system executing a thermodynamics, a closed system executing a thermodynamic cycle, we can say cyclic integral of delta Q minus cyclic integral of delta W is equal to 0. That's how we can state this. Now let us discuss first law applied to a closed system undergoing a change of state. That means your system is not executing the complete cycle, simply it is executing a process. Then what happens? First law applied to a closed system undergoing a change of state, or it is executing a process. You know, sigma W cycle is equal to sigma Q for the whole cycle, which I explained. This relation holds good only for a system executing a cycle. In other words, we can write this as sigma Q cycle minus sigma W cycle must be equal to 0. Now the question is, if a system undergoes a change of state or it executes a process, and during that process heat transfer as well as work transfer are involved, and we cannot write this is equal to 0. This holds good only when the system is executing a cycle. When executing a process or change of state, this equation does not hold good. Sigma Q minus sigma W must be equal to something. That's what I have written. QW is equal to something. What is this something known as? This something, the name that is given is energy. Energy of the system. So this will lead to the definition of energy. We say the concept energy is the consequence of first law of thermodynamics. Like temperature is the consequence of zeroth law of thermodynamics. Energy is the is the consequence of first law of thermodynamics. Now look at this. This is a system I have shown. There is a heat interaction, there is a work interaction. This system was initially at state 1. So let us say two properties, I'll measure X and Y. X and Y can be anything like pressure, volume, whatever it is. This is X and this is Y. I know initial state. Let us say I supply Q, then it will change and I will get W from here, and the final state is 2. The system has executed a process, or you say it has undergone a change of state. During this change of state, there is a heat interaction involved and there is a work interaction involved. I can just write Q minus W is not equal to 0. It is equal to something that I call something as delta E. Delta E is the increase in the internal energy of the energy, or we can say change of energy. So Q is equal to W plus delta E, where Q, W, delta E all are expressed in the same unit, say joule. Now we can define energy. There is nothing like absolute energy. It is only the difference. Thus, energy can be defined as the increase of energy of a system during a change of state is numerically equal to the net heat during the process minus net work during the process. So, delta E is equal to Q minus W. You please remember that increase or change of energy, that is how we define. Of course, in mechanics, we define this as capacity to do work. It's exactly the same, but this is how in thermodynamics the energy is defined to take care of all aspects of interactions, right? This definition does not give an absolute value of energy, E, but only the change of energy, delta E, for the process. Q and W, we have proved that both are path functions. They are not point functions. Thus, Q and W are not properties of a thermodynamic system. However, Q minus W is equal to delta E, but this delta E or energy is a property of the system. It is something a system possesses. Let us prove energy is a property of the system. How do we prove that? For that, let us consider a coordinate system. It can be X here, it can be Y here. Let us consider it as this is 1, this is 2. The system undergoes a change of state from 1 to 2 following path A. Again come back to 1 following the path B. That means 1A to B1 is a cycle. Similarly, 1A, instead of following the path B, it may also follow the path C. If it follows the path C, then the cycle is 1A to C1. So for a first law, as applied to a system executing a cycle, we can write cyclic integral of delta Q is equal to cyclic integral of delta W. Let us apply this for this cycle. So 1A to 2A, integral of 1A to 2A, delta Q, the heat interaction during this point. Again 2B to 1, the heat interaction during this. So what is the heat here? Heat interaction here, that I am adding. That will give you cyclic integral of delta Q. Similarly, work interaction here as well as work interaction here, I am writing this. So this, for this I am substituting this like this. So now let us consider this cycle instead of this. So here I have written again 1A to 2A delta Q. Instead of this, we are following this path. That's why I written 2C to 1C delta Q must be equal to what is the work interaction during this and work interaction during this, that I have written. If I subtract this one from this one, I will get, you see these two cancel, this minus this I will get. Again these two cancel, this minus this I get. So work and heat interaction during this process, or you can say energy change during this process, is same as the energy change during this process. Whether you follow this path or this path, energy will remain the same, because delta Q minus delta W is equal to, you can call it as dE, small change in energy, that remains the same. So this quantity energy is independent of the path you follow. It only depends on the end states. That's why energy cannot be a path function. It depends on end state. So it is a point function. Hence, it is a property of the system. So that's what exactly I have written down here. Okay, now for the whole system, we can write 1Q2 is equal to 1W2 is equal to delta E. Correct, we write like this because you know Q and W are path functions. They are not definite integrals. So interaction, heat interaction, when you follow the path 1 to 2, here 1 to 2. So, but E2 minus E1, it is definite integral because it's a property. So we can write straight away E2 minus E1. Here you cannot write W2 minus W1, Q2 minus Q1. These are path functions. They are inexact differentials. That's why it's written like this. Now let us discuss different forms of energy. So energy can be in the kinetic form, kinetic energy form, due to virtue of its motion of a body. Virtue of its position, it can be potential energy and molecular internal energy. So D, I will write it as du. This is what we call it as internal energy. dke kinetic energy and dpe potential energy. So now if I neglect kinetic energy and potential energy, then dE can be equal to du. So then for the whole system, when I integrate, I can write it as 1Q2 is equal to 1W2 delta U. So for small changes, delta Q is equal to delta W is equal to du. That's correct. Again, if I integrate this equation 1Q2, this is delta U. If there is only PdV work is present, then I can write as an integral 1 to 2 PdV. Then I can write this equation as 1Q2 for a closed system undergoing a change of state from 1 to 2. It is 1Q2 delta U change in internal energy plus 1 to 2 PdV, that is PdV work or displacement work. It is better to write small p instead of capital P here. Okay, I think such mistakes have crept in. Sorry for that. Better develop the habit of writing small p here. Let us define another important property, that is specific heat at constant volume. We can say specific heat at constant volume, rate of change of internal energy with respect to temperature of a system when the volume is kept constant. Volume of the system is kept constant. rate of change of internal energy with respect to change in temperature when the volume of the system is held constant or kept constant. So then we can write this as delta U, suppose, right? If I can write du Cv dt, correct? If I integrate this energy, I can write from state 1 to state 2, the difference I can write it as delta U. Then rate of change, temperature has changed from T1 to T2, then Cv dt. I can write like this. If Cv is a constant value, I can take out of the integral sign. Then I can write integral of T1 dt. Then I can write this as T2 minus T1. Delta U is equal to Cv T2 minus T1. Here U is the internal energy per unit mass. I call it as specific internal energy. If I multiply this M, mass of the system, here also M, if I multiply M and that small u, you can write it as capital U. Now you can call it as total internal energy. You can call it as delta capital U mCv delta T, that is T2 minus T1. Enthalpy is another unit. It is defined as H is equal to U plus PV. This product pressure into volume, because the pressure, the system, system may move, change its volume. The change in volume and that pressure, if I multiply, I'll get the flow work. So internal energy plus flow work, you can call this as enthalpy. Again, if I multiply on both the side by mh, it can be written as capital H. mu, you can write it as capital U. This is small p. M into V, total volume. You can write total enthalpy is equal to total energy, internal energy plus flow work. P subserves small p. P is always represented by the small letter. So when it is small v, it is specific volume. When it is capital V, it is total volume. Now let us define specific heat at constant pressure. So here it is rate of change of enthalpy with respect to temperature when the pressure is kept constant. Pressure of the system is kept constant. So again I can write it as, again it is a property, that's why I can represent like this, delta H Cp dt, integral of this I have integrated, that's why I already written delta H. Then you can write it as if Cp is constant, you can take out, otherwise not. So then delta H is equal to Cp T2 minus T1. If you multiply M on both sides, this will become total enthalpy mCp into delta T. This is what you call it as specific heat at constant pressure. Perpetual motion machine of the first kind. Assume this is an engine. So here we are supplying heat, you are giving work. According to the first law, if you are giving an input and you are continuously, you can convert all that input into output. That is perpetual motion machine of first kind, which is possible. All heat can be converted into work, or all work can be converted into heat. But you cannot have a machine like this. Means without giving any input, you cannot produce output. This is impossible. This is what we say perpetual motion machine of the first kind is impossible. The first law stated the general principle of the conservation of energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, but only gets transformed from one form to another. There can be no machine which would continuously supply mechanical work without some other form of energy disappearing simultaneously. Such a fictitious machine is called perpetual motion machine of the first kind, and in brief we call it as PMM1, and such an impossible. If you can create such a machine, it means you are violating first law of thermodynamics, that is conservation of energy is no more valid. So these are some of the fundamentals of first law of thermodynamics: executing a cycle, and first law of thermodynamics as applied to a system executing a change of state or process. So in the next video, we will continue discussing about the first law of thermodynamics. Till then, thank you very much.